let's kind of go big picture here, Jay, for everybody listening who knows nothing about testosterone. We're not talking to like the biohacking crowd here who's already kind of up to date on the latest science around testosterone, and maybe they've measured their levels and they're tracking things, and they know nothing about this whole subject. So talk to me about what testosterone optimization is all about and why there is an epidemic of testosterone deficiency.
So it's a great question. Again, first off, thank you, Ari. It's an honor to be here, man. I think the world of you. I've done some amazing stuff. As you know, you and I are going to be doing a live webinar after my podcast with you today about all the things that you're involved with. So again, honor to be here. In regards to the question, it's amazing how many men today and women, and that's a whole other subject, but have hormonal deficiencies due to the environment, due to what I call the war on our biological systems, and then also just due to being inactive, sedentary, not getting out in the sun, not connecting with nature, and all the things, again, that you write about. And hence, because they have a lack of awareness, they just go through life. By the time they hit 40, 45, 50, and by the way, a lot of these guys now are experiencing this even in their 20s. Their life massively declines because, as you know, when you do not have, at least I would say normal to, and we want to be an optimal, but normal levels of testosterone, everything declines. Physical health, body fat levels creep up, you get brain cog, you get a lack of cognition. I mean, on and on it goes. And unfortunately, most men today who do seek out, treatment or help, and most of the time, Ori, is because their wives tell them, you need to go see a doctor because they're not able to get or maintain firm erections anymore. Their doctors do not help them. And unfortunately, they don't help them for a couple of reasons, but primarily because they are attempting, as doctors in a crazy day and age today, and what I call now sick care or illness medicine, to make money. And the only way they're going to make money is to prescribe an SSRI inhibitor, as you know, which is a mood-altering medication, and it's usually in combination, erectile dysfunction medication, right? Like a Cialis or a Viagra or Levitra. So those two drugs ultimately will, medicate the man who came to the doctor's symptoms, but they won't treat the root cause, which is usually a testosterone deficiency. So we've come to a day and age now where the majority of men in society today have no clue that they need to even have their testosterone levels looked at. And then secondarily, they struggle to actually get, fair and accurate treatment because the average doctor isn't even going to go down that path.
So I want to zoom out for a minute.
Sure.
Let's talk about what are the key signs and symptoms of testosterone deficiency, and what kind of lab results on blood tests would indicate someone as having a deficiency, and kind of distinguish between sort of the typical lab ranges that you might see and what many people who are experts in this subject consider more optimal ranges. So kind of start with the lab test numbers and then go into the key symptoms for people who are listening who don't know their numbers. What are some of the signs and symptoms that might indicate testosterone deficiency?
Awesome. Great questions. So the first measurement numbers that you want to be aware of, and by the way, you don't need a doctor, okay, or you don't need your doctor's recommendation. You can go online. There are multiple independent labs now. And I have no sponsorship, or I don't get paid by any of these people, but I always just say different names. Discountedlabs.com, privatemdlabs.com, directlabs.com. You do not need a doctor's permission. You can go on there. You can order, for most men to find out right away, you can order a total testosterone, a free testosterone, and a sensitive estradiol, which is an LCMS, which is liquid chromatography pull. And those three labs are anywhere with a coupon from $39 to like retail $69 or $75, depending on the lab. Okay. You go online, you just pay, you then take the lab rec form, they email it to you, you print it out, and you just take it to your local lab corp or your local Quest Diagnostics, and you get it done. And then they email your results within 3 to 5 days. And then you kind of know. But so what you want to measure is total testosterone, free testosterone, and so you understand the difference, free testosterone is the actual bioavailable testosterone that's basically available to your body. it's the difference between what is testosterone, the total testosterone level, which is the bound testosterone, which is not all usable. So the free level, or when you monitor that number, is actually more important, because the higher the free, the more your body is actually able to utilize the testosterone you have in your body. But you still want to look at total, and you want to look at free, and then you want to look at sensitive estradiol, which is the measurement of your estrogen in your body. Now, some of the newest research, which I've been heavily pushing to the world, is the reality that males do not need to block or suppress estrogen. And I don't want to rabbit hole here, but
yeah, no, I want to talk about that. I have that on
okay, yeah, we'll get to that. But men need a very healthy level of estrogen in their body, because estrogen is a pleiotropic hormone, and estrogen is actually more responsible as a mediator for biological system health than even testosterone is. Okay, so it was in the past that people used to think you needed to block your estrogen when you were on testosterone. It's the total opposite of that. We'll get back to that. It's critically important that men have an understanding of where their testosterone levels are as they're aging. I say, and again, this is all my book, and again, it's totbible.com. You can pick it up on Amazon, or I'll email you the copy of the book. But I say that men should start having their testosterone measured at 25. Now, if you're a 17 or 18-year-old kid and you're obese and you're not active, you should go get your testosterone done too. I mean, I had, my non-biological son, Evan, and soon my other non-biological son, Ezra, I pull their testosterone. I look at their levels, because again, there's a lot of kids today, video game players, inactive people who do not eat well, do not treat their bodies well, do not get outside and get natural sunlight, who have low levels. So again, these are things to know of, but in general recommendation, 25.
Okay.
That's what, at 25 is when you should go get your test done. And again, I think personally, depending on how you feel, once a year.
So real quick, can you list off some of the key signs and symptoms?
Oh yeah, my bad. So the number one symptom of a deficiency is brain fog. And most men do not know that. Most men think it's like, associated with sexual dysfunction or lack of erections or something like that. Not even close. The number one symptom and side effect of a testosterone deficiency is brain fog. And how does that present or associate? It's normally 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the guy just wants to go home and take a nap. He has zero energy. He's just like, wow, I'm not here. What's going on with me? And then after that would be the kind of things about, lack of energy, no want or drive to go to the gym. Sex becomes an afterthought, lack of morning wood. But most men notice it cognitively. There's just a total decline by middle of the day where they have no brain function, have no energy. Like, again, it's mostly like, I just want to take a nap, and a lot of guys, when they get really low, Ari, they're dead. I mean, literally, they don't want to wake up in the morning. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to be married. They don't want to be a father to their children. So it's, I like to use that term. It's very much a soul crushing diagnosis. If you're blessed and lucky enough to even get it diagnosed, because again, most men who do end up going to the doctor, they never even have this treated. They get put on an SSRI like Wellbutrin, or there's a million other ones, or, Viagra or whatever. And then they just get worse because, by the way, and this is sad, and I don't really talk about this a lot on shows, but there's now research coming out that all of the SSRIs actually lower testosterone further. Mm-hmm. So it's making it worse.
Okay, I know there are a lot of different delivery methods out there for using testosterone. So you can use injectable, obviously that's been around for a very long time, but there are some other methods that have come on the market. There's androgel, there's, this gel that you rub on your skin. I believe there's some oral versions as well. There's pellets that you get installed surgically, I believe, or put into your body surgically. And there's some other methods. So give me the rundown of what the different methods are and which are the methods that you recommend.
So this is a great question, Ari. So this is regarding to delivery systems for therapeutic testosterone. So there are numerous delivery systems in the current marketplace as we do this podcast in June of 2019. However, there are, in my opinion, only two that are reliable and worthy and not going to cause, potential side effects or issues down the road. Now, before I say those two things, any good clinician, if asked, what is the best delivery system of therapeutic testosterone? And that person, he or she will say the one that the patient adheres to, right? So for example, there are military people, there are people that have, very highly specialized government jobs who may or may not be in harm's way and in places where they cannot travel regularly or inject themselves or rub cream on themselves or whatever. So for those type of people, I would definitely say that therapeutic testosterone is better than no therapeutic testosterone. Again, when there's a need, which of course, as we've already said in this podcast, millions, if not hundreds of millions of people do have a need for it today. But there's a bunch of stuff, dude. There's, like you said, there's buccals in the mouth. There's nasal spray, Natesto. There's pellets, which are surgically implanted. There's patches, skin patches. And then there's other ones too now. You said there's oral, there's Jatenzo, there's Clorenzo. There's a bunch of new products that are coming into the marketplace, but all of them are fraught with side effects, fraught with issues, fraught with other stuff that we don't need to discuss here in this podcast right now. Again, in my book, The TOT Bible, they're all broken down, highly discussed, highly dissected. But in my opinion today, right now, there are two delivery systems. They're both very close to each other. It's just going to, again, come down to patient adherence and lifestyle convenience. The first one I would say would be injectable, the tried and true method. Injectable delivery systems have been around forever, literally. I mean, since way before men were even studying testosterone, probably since like the 40s and 50s when the Russians and the Bulgarians were using injectable testosterone. But the best way to administer injectable testosterone is threefold. Number one is daily. Okay, because daily mimics the body's natural production as close as possible. You have a small pulsatile diurnal release of testosterone normally as you're aging. And if you inject yourself daily with testosterone, it is going to mimic the body's natural production the best. Okay. The second and third would be every other day. Again, second and third being most convenient or most best option. So every other day would be like 3 days a week out of a 7-day week, or 4 days out of a 7-day week, depending on how you do it. Most men who do 3 days a week usually just do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then leave themselves error margin, again, depending if life gets in the way. And then the third recommended, but not to me, I would say 1 and 2, every other day or daily for injections is best. But the third option would be twice a week. Now, why third is not the best? Because a lot of men do have, quote unquote, a needle phobia at the initial onset of starting therapeutic testosterone. Everyone overcomes needle phobia. These are not big needles. They're very thin, slender gauge, 27, 28, even 29, 30, which are insulin size gauges. They don't hurt when you inject them. You can inject yourself arms, legs, buttock, gluteal fat pad, lower abs, whatever. But the issue becomes it has something to do with half-lives, right? Like when the testosterone ester cleaves in the body's bloodstream, the half-life, depending on the ester, and we don't have to go into esters here because at the end of the day, testosterone cleaves into bioidentical testosterone. So all the different esters all get to the same place once they cleave in the bloodstream. Some cleave faster than others, but the half-life when you're doing it twice a week is you're going to come down to like day 3 or day 4 before your second shot, and you're going to start feeling a little bit down because, again, you're having a peak and a trough. When you do it daily or every other day, there's never any troughs. It's always usually a peak, or it's just kind of like a steady state where it just kind of stays elevated, so you feel better. And then obviously you also don't have any biological perturbations because you're not having, dropping down and then going back up or any of that stuff, which does cause differentiations. The second delivery system, and this is the one that I'm currently on now because I was on therapeutic testosterone for 19 years, injectable wise, and I've recently switched due to my physician, Dr. Keith Nichols, which is transscrotal. And the scrotum, at the base of the man's scrotum, the skin is very, very permeable, very, very thin. And there's actually research out there that shows that the absorption of a transscrotal testosterone cream, again, 200 milligrams per gram. This is not gel. This is compounded cream, Versa base, HRT base, or there's a new version called Atravaceous, which is actually some sort of a liposomal delivery system. So again, a pharmaceutical company's way to increase the cost of transdermal testosterone cream. I don't think it's any better, and user feedback, I haven't used it personally, but user feedback says it's not either. But that on the base of the scrotum after you shower and shave early in the morning is great. I've been doing it now for almost 10 months and I love it. It definitely is a little bit, in my opinion, better than injections for men that are in like monogamous relationships for a long time, because when you put it on the base of the scrotum, you do get an increased DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone signal, which is a little bit more androgenic, a little bit more increases sexual function or enhances sexual function. You definitely will get slightly better erections or erectile strength and quality. But between those two options, transdermal on the base of the scrotum and then injectable, meaning either daily, every other day, or twice a week, those are your best options from a delivery system standpoint.
Okay, final question. What is the best approach for someone to start using testosterone optimization therapy? Should they just sort of go online right now and, try to find Versabase cream or get some injectable testosterone and just start injecting it? How do they go about this process, and do they need to seek out special doctors in order to do this? Is there anything they need to know about what kind of doctors to avoid? So what's sort of like the step-by-step practical guide for someone to figure out if testosterone optimization therapy is right for them, and how to get started in a smart way so that they don't screw themselves up?
All right, great question. So the last question is, how does a person who's watching this podcast, who becomes informed, what do they do now to seek out whether or not they need testosterone optimization therapy? So it is a good question. You definitely, in my opinion, cannot rely on your quote unquote primary care physician, your family doctor, or a GP. You have to seek out a physician who is highly specialized in managing both male and female endocrine systems. And this podcast has mostly been about men, but obviously women can use therapeutic testosterone too. That's a whole other topic. But yes, both of us work well to limit the diseases of aging utilizing therapeutic testosterone. But you definitely need to seek out a physician who knows what they're doing. The majority of doctors who do prescribe testosterone and other hormones have no idea what they're doing. And again, I'm not disparaging the clinical space or the community. I have many, many doctors I work with. I love the majority of doctors. I know that the majority of them, if not all of them, do intend to help. But when they have such little knowledge of this, because they don't learn anything in medical school, there is no there's no standard patient of care for hormone optimization. This is a highly nuanced, highly niched field, and it's full of people that are attempting to make money like every other person in the world who has mortgages and bills to pay. But you should definitely focus on working with a physician that knows what they're doing. Now, the other issue that you have is that there's a lot of testosterone windmill clinics, as I call them, out there that, just sell you a per month cost of like testosterone and HCG and NAI and blah, 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 and value add. Those also should be avoided because a lot of those places are cookie cutter and they're templatizing their hormone optimization. And every person, male and female, is a unique, biochemically unique individual. Okay, so understanding that you're biochemically unique means that when you go on these hormone therapies, your response is not going to be the same as mine. Ari's response is not going to be the same as mine. My response is not going to be the same as Ari's. So the bottom line is it's absolutely mandatory, imperative, work with a physician who has a length of time, and a body of work, an experiential-based practice of managing male and female endocrine systems. I could mention a bunch of different doctors, but the problem is right now, there's no like universal governing website that recommends like the top people. Sure, if you're in LA, San Diego, where you're at, or New York or Miami or Seattle or Atlanta or Dallas or Houston or any of the major metros, you could go online and Google, HRT, TRT, TOT, whatever, and you'll get a million, literally, doctors that will come up that can, technically help you. Do your homework, man. I highly, highly recommend that anyone that's considering doing this reads my book first. I'm not saying that as a shill. It's by far the best book ever written on this. It's written for lay people. It's not written in like highly, clinical, technical doctor speak. There is that in there for clinicians. And of course, literally thousands of doctors around the world have read the book and even enlighten themselves and become further educated. But you must educate yourself and become what I call situationally aware of how this works before starting down the clinical path. Because I'm telling you, man, the majority of people go into this expecting to be optimized, and it gets worse because they're working with people that really can't help them. So you can definitely start off by yourself, though, by going to a private lab. And again, I have no financial incentive by mentioning names, but discountedlabs.com, privatemdlabs.com, directlabs.com. These are for people in North America. There's a lot of them out there. There's a bunch of ones I haven't mentioned. You don't need a doctor's prescription or permission. You can just go online, get a total testosterone, a sensitive estradiol LCMS pool, and then you can, of course, do bigger lab work, anti-aging panels, wellness, pre-hormone panels. I mean, all of these things are very, very lucidly and discussed and dissected in the TOT Bible. I even give you like a cheat sheet of like the lab panels and the biomarkers to be aware of, to track, to measure, how to read them, how to understand them. So that's the most important thing. Like going down this path without educating yourself is a very, very poor decision. It's very imprudent. You will likely get messed up. You will likely, work with a physician that cannot help you. And again, they're not trying or attempting to not help you. They just don't know what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of different people out there. You can Google this and read on, various men's forums and stuff like that, that poor experiences a lot of people have. So again, I highly recommend that you educate yourself. You follow my channel, my YouTube channel. There's amazing physicians, the top doctors in the world. I'm interviewing them all the time. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m., I have my podcast, The Optimized Life. Last year, I had the Doctors Roundtable where I interview like the best doctors. We ask all these questions. So essentially, if you read my book and you follow the production and the creativity and all the content that is going out there, you will likely become highly educated and able to avoid the pitfalls of many people in the clinical space who are prescribing hormones who don't know what they're doing. So
hey there, this is Ari again. One more quick thing before you go. Just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Energy Blueprint, and also make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's iTunes or Stitcher or anything else. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and I will see you again next week.